Mysteries abound in the great outdoors. People vanish without a trace. Silent specters are seen drifting quietly across roads, vanishing into the thicket of woods. UFOs are seen hovering over our forests, beaming lights down and vanishing just as quickly as they were seen. Large bipedal beings are seen towering over vehicles as they make their way down long, winding, dark roads near heavily forested areas. Hunters, lumberjacks, even firefighters have had encounters with a species of mammal we call Bigfoot. Men, women, children from different religious beliefs, cultures, races, and financial status have made claims of coming across, albeit briefly, with this silent sentinel of the forest. It takes a special kind of person to enter the woods, to live off the land, to hunt the creatures that live there and evade the ones hunting them. Names like Teddy Roosevelt, Davy Crockett, Daniel Boone, Russell Acord. I, however, am not one of those men. No, for I am Dave Schrader and I live here. Welcome to my realm, a space devoid of pointy, bitey things. And aside from occasional kitten attacks that leap on my back during the show or bite my ass, this is a safe place. This is my world. This is the Paranormal 60.
I'm not gonna stand here and listen to this baloney. He won't float. He doesn't stand for baloney.
Sounds like a lot of supernatural baloney to me.
Supernatural, perhaps. Baloney, perhaps not.
Oh, good evening, my darklings. Thank you for joining me here as we begin a new week in search of answers. And as you can see by my dark wooded setting, tonight we're going in search of Bigfoot to try to understand this elusive being. Is it man or beast or something in between? Well, there are a few shows out there that have tried to tackle this, and most of them somewhat tongue-in-cheek. But there's one show that seems to stand head and shoulders above the rest. And we'll begin today's program with a special message from one of those cast members with a big announcement just for you.
Hey everyone, super excited to let you know that season 4 is officially coming out on Discovery Channel on Wednesday, August 30th at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Finally, there is the news you've been waiting for. Hope you all tune in.
Exciting news. You've been wanting more Bigfoot, more Expedition Bigfoot, and they are back this August 30th on Discovery Channel, the new home for answers to the questions that keep us all going insane at night. Joining me now, a good buddy of mine, Russell Acord, is here, and we're going to talk a little bit about the first 3 seasons of Expedition Bigfoot and talk about what we might be able to expect as we enter Alaska for season 4. Russ, good to see you, buddy. Thanks for being here.
Great to see you, and thanks for having me.
Well, I want to make a quick mention. We have something pretty exciting coming up a little bit later on. Phenomicon, September 6th through the 9th at the Unita Conference Center in Vernal, Utah. Did I say that right? Unita?
Uinta.
Yeah, that's like, what I said. Uinta.
What are you into? Yeah, Uinta.
I'm into Bigfoot, and so are you. So there's going to be a lot of great speakers that will be out there, but our guest, Russell, will be out there. He is the star of Discovery Channel's hit series Expedition Bigfoot, U.S. Army veteran and a survivalist expert, author of several books, including Footprints of a Legend and Bigfoot and the Tripwire. Phenomicon, September 6th through the 9th. You can register now. Tickets are still available. There's an impressive lineup of guests that will be there. I will be there. We're going to have a great time, and we hope to see you there. There are links for that on today's program guide, so make sure that you check that out and join us. Everybody keeps asking, when are you going to come out to Utah? Well, I'm coming, and I'm bringing my friends. We're going to have a great time out there. This has been an amazing series, Russ, and obviously there's been shows before that have gone in search of Bigfoot. and some of them a little lighter hearted. It seemed a little bit more tongue in cheek from time to time. I really like that you guys have pulled together and assembled a team that's taking this seriously, is taking the next scientific necessary steps into investigating this. But maybe you could start real briefly for our listeners that may not be familiar with you. Bigfoot, what got you involved and interested in exploring this enigma?
I would say it's probably 90% of the population saw that 1967 footage, the Patterson-Gimlin film, where they called it Patty walking across the creek bottom, and they just caught it kind of cruising across the front of them and down and out of sight. And that's one of the most controversial films ever, because everybody wants to debunk it or say it's not true. Then you have the other half that say it's true, and then other people will say they see other things in the film. But that's what got me intrigued, just because that plus the historical piece of it as well. You see petroglyphs that show or depict Bigfoot, and that was long before the Patterson-Gimlin film. And stories like that won't just come up, without something that leads you to it. So I just think that there's, I believe in the possibility that there's something out there, and the fact that we haven't seen it come, face to face with it. And some people tell some very amazing things that they've come face to face with it, they've seen it, they've touched it, that sort of thing. I have not. I'm not actually come face to face or had one of those sightings that's within 10 feet kind of thing. And it'd be great if I did. It would probably change my entire perspective on when I go out in the field. But between that and the historical piece, the Patterson-Gimlin film was what really launched me into this.
And how many years have you been researching and going out on the active investigative trail to try to find Bigfoot?
Oh man, if I tell you, that gives away a little bit of how old I am. I would say,
give us a ballpark.
Oh, more than 40 years.
Okay. So then here's an interesting element to this, right? 40 years and you haven't had that moment yet, that face-to-face moment or within 10 feet. What keeps you inspired to continue to have that experience? Because I know as a paranormal investigator, if I had not by now seen a glimpse of a ghost or heard things that I believe to be ghostly apparitions or voices from another realm, I don't know that I could have stuck with it this long. But 40 years is a lot of commitment to wilderness sounds and hoping to have that moment.
I'm a bit of I need something more. So I've seen some things that people would say that's definitely Bigfoot. But in fact, the first thing I ever saw was several miles away. I was on one hillside, and all the way down the valley, across the valley and up the other hillside, I saw something traversing across a rock slide. And for all good intentions and purposes, it looked like a man in a ghillie suit. What they would be doing across a rock slide that far back in the mountains, because I was quite a ways back, is beyond me. I don't think it was plausible or practical for somebody to be just playing out with a big giant ghillie suit on. And I saw that, and it's just one of those things where I know some people would say they saw Bigfoot, but I had no secondary evidence. I did the following day get on that rock slide, but there was it was hard to tell where it could have been, hoping to find one single fragment of hair. But through the years, I've seen things that just kind of give you that hint or give you a little tiny piece of it that keep you going. And I'm not really a quitter. I'm kind of stubborn that way.
I'm curious what your thoughts are on this, and go with me down this weird rabbit hole for a minute, Ross, if you would. In the current world we live in, people are carrying guns now more than ever. How many hoaxsters do you think are out there dressed in ghillie suits or gorilla costumes trying to trick people? I would think that would be a poor decision in today's environment, especially with everybody looking for get-rich-quick schemes. Taking out a Bigfoot seems like a pretty good way to start that trend. Do you believe that there really are all of these hoaxers just walking through the woods hoping to trip people up or freak them out?
Sadly, there's been a couple that have been found out that way. I remember reading an article not long, several years back, I guess, up in Montana in the Kalispell Whitefish area. Somebody was, just trying to play and running across the road with his Bigfoot costume on. The problem is he got hit by a car. And but a lot of people said that they saw, Bigfoot. And the next thing you know, you realize by reading the news, it was sorry for the terminology, but some jerk in a costume trying to make a name for himself. And he did, sadly.
Before we go too far off of the Patterson-Gimlin piece of footage, I've said it before and I maintain by this, and I'm curious what your thought is, having obviously a more skeptical perception and needing to see more. That footage started off as grainy, poppy, jumpy footage that was interesting, but as science progresses and technology progresses and we can study that piece of footage and it becomes clearer and better, to me, it's become more indisputable, as opposed to thinking things would fall apart the clearer and more stabilized we could get it. It really looks to me like there is some kind of large bipedal creature, not in a costume. But that's my take. What is your take now that we're this far along in the ability to examine that footage?
So I'll try to keep this short. Bob Gimlin has a first generation copy of the original that he had gotten from Rene Duhendon. Mm-hmm. And he has that in a vault. And he said, Russ, I'll share this with you if you want to have a look at it. And he entrusted it with, he gave it to me to take along with one that was also from John Green. I think it was John Green.
Okay.
I had two copies. One of them was from Rene Duhendon. That was it was in the envelope that he mailed it in. It was just a great time, Right. And then the other one, I took them both down to Arizona and had them cleaned and carefully. I mean, white gloves. These guys it was expensive to do it, but I had them do frame by frame, every single frame, clean it up and get a frame by frame shot of every single one of those, side by side comparison with Renee's to the other one. Now, Renee's was much more crystal clear. It was really, it was a great piece of film. That I'd looked at that pretty close because there's the walk where you see everybody has that same photo of it looking over its shoulder, and it's pretty clear. But as it continues down the creek bottom and keeps going, that was the part that intrigued me because it just kept walking nonchalant as if it didn't have a care in the world, was not upset by the fact that there were two guys on horseback. So that in itself, that's a typical, the lion's walk. The king of the jungle doesn't act or show fear or could care less who's around when it walks by. It's doing its thing and it could care less. So that kind of had my interest, but going down to the site, the actual site, and you walk along that creek bottom, you realize it's cobblestone. And one of the things that the state penitentiaries, the state pens will use is they'll put this cobblestone between the wire fence with the concertina wire on top of it. That way, if somebody does break across that first fence, he has to run across this cobblestone to get to the second one. And to traverse across that kind of terrain is pretty impossible. And by then you've got the attention of, the guys in the towers. If you walk up down this creek bottom, you have to look where you're planting your feet. You have to be careful. Mm-hmm. And it's treacherous. So if you think about, here I am, I want to pull off this, I want to fool the world. Okay. So I'm going to put on this costume. And if you have something across your face, you have to look down and forward because it's not all up against your eyes. You're wearing big clown feet on your feet because you have to have a bigger foot than what's yours. And you're traversing across this cobblestone. Even today, with a really good costume, that would be virtually impossible. Mm-hmm. This thing walked with fluid, smooth motion and literally looked over its shoulder and kept the pace. That to me was pretty convincing. As some compelling stuff to watch, that movement across that kind of ground without hesitation, without having to look at where the feet were being placed. So that was that's got my attention more than any of it, is just that piece of it, being able to get across that ground. If somebody was actually good enough back then to make a costume, that could still be one of those discussions where, you could argue back and forth. But the walking across that creek bottom, you can't do it. You just can't.
Yeah, and like I said, I've thought it's really fascinating that as we're able to clean the footage up more and get a cleaner perspective of it, I would think that it would start to fall apart. We would start to see issues in a costume. We would see the failings of it, but it seems that it just looks better and better the more we clean it up. So that to me, it has always been a really intriguing element to the Bigfoot phenomena, especially the Patty film. So it's great to get kind of your perspective on this. And I know you're friends with Bob Gimlin, and you're able to talk with him, and he's been very forthcoming, as you said, sharing this footage with you, sharing these stories. And I had the opportunity to interview him once, and you could just hear in him the sincerity and kind of I don't need to prove to you what I saw. I saw what I saw. You've seen the footage of it. It's just kind of that, it is what it is. Kind of element, which I think is really, was also very compelling to me. I never felt like he was trying to sell me anything. Right.
He's very, very genuine, very humble. And quite frankly, when I got copies of that film, I have every single frame in 4K. So you can really zoom in and see the grain. It's great footage. I mean, it really is. And Bob doesn't pull any punches. I mean, people have asked him the hard questions, the tough questions, how do we know? And it seems like they're always challenging him on that. And not once has he ever wavered. He had an offer. What was it? I believe he got an offer of $1 million. Give me $1 million. They said that they would give Bob $1 million to tell the truth. And he said, well, go ahead and just give me the money because I've told you the truth. And clearly they wouldn't give it to him. But, it was just, they were trying to trick him into it and maybe tempt him with money. And like you said, he always said, I saw what I saw. I know what I saw. And he never questions that.
I also had the chance to interview Philip Morris, who claimed to have created the costume, and had Bob Hieronymus, who was a very big lumbering fellow, wear the costume. And Bob Hieronymus has claimed to wear it. The question that he could not answer properly for me was, I said, look, I'm looking at 1967 technology. Planet of the Apes was pretty cutting edge, and that still was pretty schlocky. I mean, it was amazing for what it was, but you look at the other ape footage, like I've said, 2001 Space Odyssey, that monkey at the beginning in front of the obelisk, it looks like a horrible costume. I think one of the best costumes ever had to be the ones from the Three Stooges. The guy that used to wear that gorilla costume, that was about the best. And I've never seen anything even close to it. And then I think wasn't it the 80s or early 90s that they gave Hieronymus and Philip Morris money to recreate the costume. And what they came up with looked like something an 8th grader would have built. It was paper mache. It was horribly done. And I thought, and that's with 21st century technology. This is the crap you're going to give me and tell me you were able to make something better in 1967. It just none of that held any weight for me. And I think a lot of people feel that way as well. But I mention that just so I can stave off the mail. Oh, Philip Morris and Hieronymus have already said that they were part of the fraud. And I really don't understand to what level they gain by saying that they were part of perpetrating a fraud that they were not a part of. It's just so strange to me. The entire concept of how that all went down. And that has put kind of this strange black mark against the cryptid field, right? Because you've got something that is one of the most compelling pieces, yet you've got people willing to come forward and claim that they were the people in the costume and the people that made the costume without being able to provide any of it to show you what it was, or how it was made and how it looked that good. I think Hieronymus just said he wore football pads underneath the costume, which gave it the girthier look. But none of it matches with the way the legs, none of it. It was just such a ridiculous concept. But now here we are. We're in the 21st century, and I started asking around to my friends that have been involved in the Bigfoot field, Lauren Coleman and Dr. Jeff Meldrum, and I've said, what is, aside from Patty, what is really the most compelling Bigfoot footage in the last 55 years? And they can't point to many. Mm-hmm. There's amorphous black blobs. There's something fleeting in the woods. There's a lot of claims of bears. Bears do walk on their back feet for short periods of time. There is footage of them, but you can also see the way they walk does not look human-like in nature. And then as I'm watching this little show, and I'm not sure if you've heard of it, Expedition Bigfoot, season 3, there's this fella, kind of believable in my opinion, and he's up on a ridge filming through a telescope when he captures what I think might be one of the most compelling pieces of footage that has been captured since the Patterson-Gimlin film. And with your permission, Russ, I'd like to introduce you to the young fellow that took that video and show you the clip. Would that be okay with you?
Oh, it'd be great.
All right, we'll do that. But first, let's just take a quick break. And remember, they're coming back August 30th on Discovery Channel, Expedition Bigfoot. All right, we've got the footage now. Welcome back to the program. For those of you listening to this, you will hear the narration of what's taking place and the young buck that caught this piece of footage, Russell Acord.
Oh, check it out. Like a little black bear on the side of the hill. Let me get it settled. Zach. That thing just stood up like you and I would just stand up. Look at that. Dude! It literally stood up like you and I would, stood up on 2 feet and walked. A barrel stand on 2 feet, this was different, man. Holy crap.
You got asthma?
Hang on. I can't see it. I'm trying to see if it comes out on the other side of those trees. And there's nothing. Where did it go? Zach. Holy, we are going over there. I have to investigate this. This is seriously the most compelling thing I've seen since I've been doing research. Let's get our gear. Russ for Ronnie, Russ for Maria.
Hey, Russ, go ahead.
Hey, Russ. Go for Maria.
I've got some amazing video that I need to share with you. Can you be at camp? I need to meet up with everybody. I just texted Bryce, and he's going to meet up with us back at base camp.
Yeah, we'll definitely make sure to head back to camp. And I can't wait to see what you got on video.
I'm on my way.
Be careful. See you soon. Let's go. Hey, guys.
Hey!
Hey,
How's it going?
What's up?
you made
Long
it.
time no see.
Yeah, no kidding.
Boy, you are not going to believe what I got.
Really?
Hey.
What'd you get?
I'm not. Oh, hey!
Bryce?
Awesome.
How's it going, guys?
Good.
Good.
Good
Good.
to see you,
Good to
man.
see you, too. You guys want to go take a look?
Yes,
Heck yeah.
Let's do it. I'm excited to see what you got, Russ.
You are not going to believe this video. I'd been kind of glassing this area with a telescope for a while.
Mm-hmm.
It's a long ways out, and I'm watching these clearings.
Yeah.
Understand something? This is over a mile away,
Okay.
Crap.
and I see what looks like a bear on the hillside. So check this out. It looks like a bear. At first, that's what I thought I was looking at. It's just a bear. Until now. Watch this.
Oh my God.
Whoa.
If you do it slow.
Holy
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's amazing. To me, that does not look like bear behavior. But if that's not a bear, then what is it?
What?
Dude, that thing is walking away.
What I find most compelling about this video is the movement.
The way that the head looks around before it walks off, there's a head to floor vertical position that is not like a bear's.
I honestly cannot think of any other animal out here that would move like that. I think Russ may have actually found something here.
Oh, I think Russ found something there. Russ, that is an amazing piece of footage. Here we are, a year past you capturing that piece of footage. I'm sure you've reviewed it a million times since then. Any new thoughts?
Yeah, it still gives me goosebumps. I wanted so bad to go on that hillside and find footprints or hair or scat or anything. And you got to understand the terrain over there. It's a lot of rock and really hard pan soil. So even the vegetation over there was really not giving me much to go on. You know, like I said, you know, I see things that most people would say that's definitely a Bigfoot, but I'm the kind of guy that if I see something, I'm not going to take one piece of evidence and say that was definitely Bigfoot unless I have 2 or 3 other things to back it up with. I wanted to, oh, I almost dropped my computer. I wanted, oh my goodness.
Relax, deep breaths, Russell. We're okay now. There's no Bigfoot.
It just gets me worked up here.
Right.
I wanted a footprint. I wanted hair. I wanted something to stack on top of that footage. And then that would have been a lot more easy for me to push that out in front of me and say, look, this is some legitimate evidence. But a sighting like that far away, though very, very compelling, it in the back of my mind, I have my own thoughts, and I'm not gonna say, but what does the guy say on the Alien show? I'm not saying it's aliens,
but it's aliens, right?
Yeah.
That would, again, you're right. And I love the fact that you're looking and you're like, oh, it's a little bear. Look at that. You're just kind of enjoying nature in its natural habitat. And then it stands up and it's got that kind of human deal. And you almost see like an arm come up, like it was like swatting a fly or something. And then it just kind of looks around and then takes off. And that was a totally natural human look and movement as opposed to kind of that lumbery bear walk that they do. Very cool. Honestly, I know that, you know, it's hard to do that again for me, Russell, but put your mindset back to that moment when it stood up and you see its head then pop up and move around, and what is going through your brain at that exact moment?
That's why I don't know why I'm looking at this scope, seeing it as close as I can through a scope in the camera. And when it stands up and walks away, what do? I look up and like, I'm going to see it better.
Right.
You know? Because I clearly I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It wasn't real to me, and I questioned everything because I'm thinking in my mind, did I just see that the way I just saw it? And being able to play it back over and over and over again is amazing to see it. I just wish I could have seen it come out the other side of the trees. Anything. You have to understand where we were. There's a lot of bear in that area. And we'd seen several bear throughout the day, deer, elk, bear, whatever. And I just thought it was just another cute little fuzzy black bear until, you know, it stood up.
Yeah, so, that head goes up. Yeah.
Insane.
Have you, and help me, I do apologize. I've seen so many of the different shows now and they, some parts run together. Have you used a parabolic or a laser microphone in those situations when something is at a distance? And have you picked up anything from that you felt was outside of the normal, especially with the creature? You know, what you're picking up does not sound like bear noises.
I believe, where were we in season 2 in Oregon? We had we used the parabolic mic, and I'm telling you, can I plug somebody here real quick?
Of course.
Okay, Robert Schrader has this. In fact, he'll maybe we can get his information if you wouldn't mind throwing it out there. But he builds these parabolic mics, and this guy is he's a genius. The stuff that he comes up with, and he can piece together. But the parabolic mic we use on the show, there was something out in the darkness way out ahead of us. And I remember Maria putting the headset on and putting the microphone, pointing it out in the woods, because we were hearing stuff, but it was too far out to get a good reading on the thermal because it was pretty dense. And she said she could hear it breathing. Something was out there. She could hear it inhale, exhale. It could have been a bear, deer, elk, who cares? The fact that that thing picked up sound that far away and you could actually hear the inhale and exhale was pretty cool. I think that's a very valuable tool out there, but I also caution people from hearing like tree knocks or certain sounds and saying, oh, I guarantee you I heard 3 knocks in a row, that was Bigfoot. It's a sound, if you can pair that up with a good thermal, if you can pair that up with a footprint and hair and piece all together, then you've got something. But the parabolic mic is, if you can carry one with you, because they're bulky, they have that big,
right.
But if you can keep one with you in your field kit, man, what an incredible tool.
I'll have to talk to my buddy Bill Chappell. He creates a lot of the different equipment you've seen on the ghost shows, and I know he's got a laser microphone. And I'd like to see if he could create a compact laser microphone that you could have in a situation like that, where you could, when you're seeing something, you could aim it with the speaker right there, see if you're able to pick up any of the noise from it, and get, that would be an amazing moment too, right? Because if you're hearing, oh God, my back hurts, now that's going to take you out of the fact that it's maybe a backpacker or somebody just far enough out there. That's going to help out in those situations. But
you said it wrong, Dave. You said it wrong.
What?
You're supposed to say laser.
Right. Now, you've had a chance to go out there, see these things. I think what's fascinating to me about your work on these shows as well is, obviously you're there to look for this, I don't know if creature is the right word, being. And I love the fact that you also, during season 3 and previous seasons, you've encountered these kind of shadowy figures. When you've been investigating things that seem to be there and not. And, there's been a lot of people that believe Bigfoot might be an interdimensional being. We're seeing, him as he steps between dimensions. That's why he's there one second, gone the next. That there are different, you guys cover it in the episode so beautifully as well. There are different native traditions and oral histories that talk about these shadow tribes that exist just beyond our normal realm of consciousness, and can be there one second and not the next. Is it weird for you, already being on that kind of realm of I need to see something more, to then when you start delving into the shadowy figures and mystical being aspect of this kind of hunt?
So when you talk to Ronnie LeBlanc, he's really into, that native research piece of it, the UFO, the interdimensional, that piece of, maybe it's not flesh and blood. And I've always maintained that if it leaves a footprint, it's got to have body weight. So it's got to be flesh and blood. If it puts out a thermal, it's got a beating heart, which means it's putting out heat, which means it's flesh and blood. And then interdimensional, if you think that if I were interdimensional and I could go from here to your place and have a sandwich and come back here, I wouldn't leave footprints along the way. I wouldn't, I would just get there. So I wouldn't leave a trace behind. So that's why I've always really hung on to that. However, here we go. Here's the part where I put my foot in my mouth. I've been listening to Ronnie, and if he's right and I'm wrong, I accept that. And I think, man, that's amazing, because he's been spot on all this time and I've been wrong, or vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
But there's things that have happened out in the field that there's no explanation for. And I know you're comfortable with that strange, high strangeness. But for me, I've always just been feet on the ground, grounded. You can touch it, you can feel it, you know what it is. And I like my definitions for things. I like to be able to duplicate it and say, yeah, this is why it is the way it is. This is how it works. But like when I see a thermal just literally vanish in front of my eyes, that kind of made my skin crawl. When we see shadows that there's no origin, they were shadows and then they were not. And there was no where it could have come from or gone to. That's when I start scratching my head thinking, okay, now how can I wrap my logic head around this? And it's not always that simple. And oftentimes I'm the guy walking away saying, well, I can't explain it. I have to just accept that I can't explain that. So it's a battle. It is.
Now you also tackle the fact that you were seeing these light anomalies in the woods. And, this has been, people have called it gas balls or ball lightning, different perspectives on that. Some believe it to be spiritual in nature. Some believe it to be elemental or just natural. Some believe it to be fae or sprites. I'll have to connect you. I have a friend of mine. He believed that his warehouse was very haunted, and he had all these cameras set up. And the one day he brought me to his office in California, and he goes, we go upstairs and we're sitting there at his monitoring station, which overlooks the area where his cameras are. And he goes, just watch what I see. And all of a sudden you'd see these light shafts just open up and start moving through the room. And it wasn't like a figure. It was like a shaft of light would just come out of nowhere and move around in a closed room. And then it would go up the wall, and you would see it go to towards a light bulb, fluorescent light bulb, go into the bulb, and then kind of follow the light. Russ, it was the weirdest thing I've ever seen. And but it would just be dark and everything. You're seeing through the night vision, and all of a sudden, boom, there's another shaft of light that starts moving around. I still have no explanation for it. This guy legitimately is like a laser scientist, and he worked with lasers. And I said, do you think with the work you're doing here, is there any chance you're tearing holes in the fabric of reality? He goes, I would think that sounds like the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Only I can't explain what the hell's happening here. And he's seeing these light forms, and sometimes he would get him in corroborating. So you like to have multiple things layered. He would have that light start moving around, and then you would start hearing what sounded like children's laughter.
Oh,
or people talking and walking. And he's like, I don't know what the hell's going on here. So with the lights, and I've seen another strange variety in a couple places, including indoor and outdoor. These, I call them Tinkerbells, where all of a sudden I just see this spray of sparkles just out of nowhere. And I grew up with lightning bugs. I know what they look like. Yep. And no, this is literally like Tinkerbell just whacked her wand and you see that little array of sparkles. I've seen it indoors and outdoors, and I can't understand it. The people I'm with can't understand it. We've seen it in large groups and small groups alike. Have you seen that sparkle kind of happen as well?
No, but I'll tell you what, Dave, I'm going to have to do some research with you, because it seems like you get into some pretty cool stuff too. I would love to go to that warehouse. That intrigues me. But, and I don't know where you sit with this, but I think that as beings, as humans, when we're born, we're energy. We are a form of energy, no matter how you look at it. And when I pass on my, whatever you call this mass of skin, suit, and bones, once it takes its last heartbeat, where does the energy go? And it's always been a question. I've never really dug into it too deep, but I've seen some things that were strange, and I couldn't explain that, like you're talking about, energies that you can visibly see but aren't really there. And I didn't dig into it, because I thought, in my own opinion, there's negative energy and positive energy out there, and you're like a doorway. So if you open up and accept any kind of energy, you're going to accept the bad with the good. And I was never open to either one. I just figured I accept, not understanding, seeing something that I don't understand, and I'm good with that. But I don't want to invite it into my core and have it attach itself to me, if that's indeed what I can do. So it's just a strange mindset. I'm just kind of stubborn that way. I always keep that wall up, and I see things that I acknowledge, but I don't pursue it.
Okay.
Not like you. I
Fair.
mean, come on.
Right. But you're in my realm as well, Russ, because you're going for Bigfoot. You're seeing light anomalies. You're also dipping into the realm of remote viewing. You had a remote viewer help you in season 3, and eerily accurate remote viewer who showed you this is what's here, this is what you're going to find, this is where you're going to find evidence, and that's lined up perfectly. And I love the look of surprise on all of you guys when you're like, "Oh, what?" That, or am I misunderstanding it? To me, it looked like you guys were blown away by the fact that it lined up exactly as he said.
So, Dave, I'll confess to you, I've always looked at mediums, remote viewers, and that kind of thing. I've always thought, okay, you can be pretty ambiguous and kind of cast a broad net, wait for a reaction, and say, okay, I'm on the right track, and kind of keep pushing. This guy Christopher Duncan, he said, "Hey, can I do a remote viewing on you?" And I thought, "Okay, Chris, whatever. I'll play your game. Hit me with your best shot. Let me see what you got." And I thought they were going to show it on the show because he actually, because I'm not standoffish. I ain't buying your crap, you know. And I was pretty verbal about that when I was talking to him. I said, you can do it, but I'm not buying into this. And he made my skin crawl for about 20 minutes. I mean, he detailed things, and he wouldn't look at me. He turned away from me, and he's writing on a piece of paper, and he said, let me connect. Let me just kind of get somewhere with you. And he didn't ask questions. He told me. And, he described to a T it to include a landmark that is a global landmark right by a piece of property that, he said, this is a piece of property that is very special to you because it has that historical, family value. And I'm thinking, yeah, so what? Family property. Okay, now we're nowhere. He said it's got a lot of white around it, and it was built by one of your relatives' hands. And there's a small stream or a very small creek next to it, right in front of it, right beside it. And I mean, he described this log cabin that my dad built in the Aspens, with a little tiny stream right in front of it. And he went into detail about this stupid landmark. And if you look up on the world's largest smokestack, it's in Anaconda, Montana. This is big, tall. He said it's really, really reaches to the sky. I don't remember what all he said, but he just, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm trying not to acknowledge him. But I thought, okay, we're done here. You win.
So that was his reading on you, but he also did a reading for where you guys were going to go, remote viewing.
Right. So that's why I was skeptical. I'm thinking, okay, he's telling us what we're going to be coming in contact with. And I thought, whatever, until he actually made me see that there was something to it. And then when we went out into the field later on, and these things that he had said we would see, it was like he'd already looked at our roadmap and said, "Oh yeah, you're going to see these great big enormous timbers laying on, and a fence there, and something about hair on a fence." And I'm thinking, before he had that reading, I wasn't buying it, and everything that he said was right in front of us. It was ridiculous.
And they did find hairs, but I'm not going to tell you if it's Bigfoot or something else, but I will tell you that it is some of the most interesting and fascinating details that they were able to uncover. And it definitely does leave you believing that there is something that we don't know about out there. And I'm not going to tell you if it's man, wolf, or Bigfoot, but watch. If you haven't caught up on season 3, go check out season 3. Season 4 launches August 30 on Discovery Channel. Make sure you go check that out. Russ, would you hang in just a few more minutes with me to the top of the hour? I've got a couple commercials to do, and then let's show this clip from what we can expect for season 4. Would you do that?
I'd love to. You bet.
All right. Hold tight. We'll be right back. We've got more to share right here on the Paranormal 60. Innovation, creation, vitality, and joy are the pulse of mysoultopia.com, with many custom creations for the mind, body, and spirit, along with classes, intuitive sessions, coaching, and healing energies. MySoultopia.com strives to bring sophistication with a twist to the metaphysical and the holistic market, while raising the community's vibration and channeling the new paradigm, which means new and exciting adventures for all. MySoultopia.com is utopia for your soul. Visit MySoultopia.com, your one-stop shop for all your metaphysical needs, offering hand-selected crystals and crystal jewelry with prices to fit every budget. MySoultopia.com offers the best selections of tarot and divination cards by top designers, expertly curated and award-winning book collections from top authors on every subject you'll need on your spiritual journey. My Soultopia is also proud to offer the finest singing bowls and an eclectic collection of the most amazing gemstones, crystals, and crystal jewelry from the top metaphysical designers in the world. MySoultopia.com is always your one-stop shop for award-winning mixes of Florida water, sage spray, and other spiritual protection. So begin your journey with the best resource, MySoultopia.com. That's MySoultopia.com. Why mess with the rest when you can start with the best? MySoultopia.com. Again, that's MySoultopia.com.
Haunted Magazine, issue 38, Hot Summer Frights, is an electrifying edition that will send shivers down your spine. Dive into a world where history and mystery, the normal and the paranormal, intertwine. In the latest edition, we look at the Hell House hauntings, the terror of the Warminster Thing, the Borley Rectory, Sin Eating in Shropshire, and just what the heck is the Grampus? You can find our magazine at the website hauntedmagazineprintshop.com and selected outlets in the UK, Canada, Australia, and the United States. So grab your copy today. And remember, kids, don't be normal, be paranormal.
All right, you can join Russ and I, along with a myriad of other speakers, from Skinwalker Ranches to Expedition Bigfoot, the Holzer Files, and more. We are all going to be on hand having an amazing weekend. Phenomicon returns September 6th through the 9th, and that is in the I can't say it, Russ. My mouth refuses to.
What are you into?
What are you into? Uinta Conference Center in Vernal, Utah. It's going to be an amazing weekend. Please come on out, have some fun with us. You can get information and tickets at ticket information at darknessevents.com. Go check that out, darknessevents.com. And we are just a few weeks out from the Anderson House Paranormal Weekend Investigation in Wabasha, Minnesota. I will be the lead investigator for the weekend. Handful of tickets. I think there's literally only 4 or 5 tickets that remain. If you'd like to get off the couch and get into the game and come on out and investigate one of Minnesota's haunted, make sure that you check it out with me. Again, you can get information. It's the Anderson House in Wabasha, Minnesota. You can find information about it at darknessevents.com. And let's get creepy this Halloween weekend, October 27th and the 28th in Napanoch, New York. I'll be at the Haunted Shanley Hotel along with Scotty the Medium. We will be investigating, doing talks, meet and greets, and having a great time. There are still a few rooms available at the Shanley Hotel, and there are tickets for the meet and greets and investigations. Go check it out. Again, information and tickets at darknessevents.com. Russell Acord, our guest this evening, as we're talking Bigfoot, we're talking all things Sasquatchy, and you've got a new season coming up. Before we show the teaser for that, what has been the biggest surprise to you out of 3 seasons of doing the show, starting where you came in with your mindset and where you are today? What can you tell me is the biggest change for Russell?
I'd say the paranormal aspect of it, and I don't like to say that, lightly. I am flesh and blood. I'm not going to take anything from that. I've always been flesh and blood. But like I said, some of the things that have happened that are unexplainable, that really have no rhyme, no reason. You know, things don't simply vanish that put off a thermal trace, and it did. And I've got a couple of theories of mine that I've tried to make a thermal vanish like that by, you know, cooling the body extremely fast, and that's like the polar plunge. You know, that's the only way you can really do it. But out in an open field, it was pretty much impossible. The shadows still, you know, those are the things that have had me questioning a lot of my research and a lot of things that we've seen and found. And I'm good with it. Just need to sort through it.
Do you ever feel, obviously, aside from the natural elements and the lions and tigers and bears, oh my, that are out there in the woods, do you ever feel like you might be in danger, especially when you're seeing shadowy figures that have no origin? You're seeing and hearing noises that don't seem to register with any other kind of natural noises?
I'm one of two things. I'm not afraid. You know, there's some things that'll startle you, but I'm not afraid. So either I'm unafraid or I'm just incredibly stupid, one of the two. I mean, I know that there's the dangers that are out there are real, but I've spent my lifetime, you know, teaching myself, you know, things that make sounds at night are the exact same things that make sound in the daytime. And you learn to identify those and not let them get to you. So I know there's dangers out there, but I'm not gonna let it change my patterns or my methods.
Right, but I'm not talking about just regular landslide dangers. I'm talking about shadowy figures that come from nowhere and vanish just as quickly. Light sources that are there 1 second and gone the next. Heat signatures of large creatures standing within yards of you that are there 1 second and gone the next. That's got to be a little bit more unsettling. When it's unsettling watching it from the comfort of my living room on a TV, but I do have to shut the drapes because I don't want to turn around and see a Sasquatch staring at me while I'm watching your show. But what's it like to actually be in the field having those moments?
I was trying to avoid that because, not gonna lie, it makes you nervous. You know, it makes you question, you know, what am I missing? You know, what gear, what tools do I need? What do I need to make this particular moment better? Because I can't identify what I'm seeing. What do I need to be able to do that moving forward? You know, I like having. I'm a gadget person. I like my gadgets, my tools, and I'd like to have something that gives me more of a comfortable feeling when something like that happens, where I can just kind of in my mind say, okay, well, this is what I need to apply to this situation right now because I understand this. And the things I think that's what gets to me is the things I don't understand. Yeah, it's nerve-wracking. You know, I don't pee my pants or anything, but it does get you kind of get your blood flowing pretty good.
I've had a lot of people that have asked me to ask the cast members of your show, do you bring weapons, guns with you when you're filming, especially being out in the woods that deep, knowing you may run into a natural animal that might want to eat you?
That's no, the network won't allow it. If when I go out on my own, I'm always packing. When I'm with the network, I mean, it's just a matter, you know, I have some hand tools with me that I can use, but they always give us the bear spray, which is very effective actually. And that's basically the one thing, the one known risk that might come in contact with is a bear or a mountain lion. And that's a very effective tool. I mean, they give us some pretty strong stuff to do it. The only problem is I just hope that I'm not, you know, the wind's not blowing at me instead of away from me, you know, because then I'll just taste like pepper when he's eating me. I don't know.
Well, the good news is most times if they're coming at you, it's because you're downwind from them, right? They're following your scent. So if they're coming at you, most likely you can hopefully get that zap off beforehand. What's the end game for you, Russell? If you and the team are out there and you hear something and you guys charge around the corner and there's a 9-foot bipedal, very angry creature, do you tackle it? Do you offer it gummy bears? What do you do to try to have a moment besides capturing it on film?
I have a plan for that too. And again, probably the most stupid thing on the planet. It's a world of selfies, right?
Right.
If I ever get to where I'm anywhere near something like that, I want to put my hands on it. I do. I want to get, and if you find me under a glacier 100 years from now, and you know that I was attacked by a Bigfoot, look under my fingernails, because I'm going to have a handful of skin and fur. That's what I'm looking for. So I always joke, if I see a Bigfoot, I'm going to run up, grab snatch a handful of chest hair, do a selfie, and run, and hope I get out of there. But literally, I would want to get my hands on it. I don't need to shoot it. I don't need to kill it. No. I know you exist. I don't need to shoot you to prove it to anybody. I don't believe in killing something just to satisfy science or anything else. That's why I want my hair, footprint, photographs, all that to put together as one really amazing piece of evidence. I don't need a body.
All right. Now, for 3 seasons, you guys have gone to some of the most amazing locations. You're heading off to Alaska for season 4. Let's show a quick teaser of that right now.
Oh, check it out. Like a little black bear on the side of the hill. Let me get it.
Let's try the actual footage. I was going to say, you guys are starting that off again? Hold tight.
Next season on Expedition Bigfoot.
Alaska is unforgiving. Doesn't care how tall you are, how short you are, or who you know or who you don't know. If you're not careful in this country, it'll take you out quick.
There's a vastness in Alaska that makes you feel small. The trees are towering, the ground consumes you. Feels more wild, more raw than anywhere else we've been before. If there's anywhere that a creature could be hiding and thriving, it's gonna be on an island like this.
Expedition Bigfoot returns for season 4, August 30th, only on Discovery. All right, you guys are off to Alaska. What can you tease us with, Russell, as you're heading into this new season? And it's already filmed, it's in the can. Obviously, you survived this season.
Barely.
What can we find out? What can we look forward to this year?
The only thing I can say is, when they say things are bigger in Texas, they haven't been to Alaska yet. That is the most untamed, wild, amazing place I've ever been. And it's as rough as it gets. There's nothing tender and soft and warm and fuzzy about it. It will literally kick your butt every day. And it's treacherous. It's scary. The wildlife will get you. You have to be, paying attention. As far as season 4, I would recommend installing safety belts on your lounge chairs and your recliners in your living room, because it's going to be a hell of a ride.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Russell, how long do you think we are with the way that we're constantly infringing on nature? How far out are we before we have definitive proof of Bigfoot?
I think we've already, when I do my presentation, I talk about, everybody's got this piece of the puzzle, and once we have put all the pieces together, we're going to have the whole picture, and I think that we have what we need. I think the evidence is there in front of us. It's a matter of being able to kind of align everything and put it all in the same space. I think as far as, that ground-breaking wow factor, there's no contesting this. We're not far. We're not far at all. Not with the advancement of technology, and the more people that are getting out, I think we're very close.
All right. One last question. With all of the thought of like David Paulides' books about missing people in all of these massive forest areas, do you believe that Bigfoot is responsible for any of those at all?
I would not be surprised. Realistically, I wouldn't be surprised. Whether it's companionship, whether it's I mean, very morbidly to say it, but whether it's consumption, you don't know. Animals, if you look at Bigfoot as an animal or a predator, there's you have to survive one way or the other. And it would not surprise me. I hope I'm wrong, but anything's on the table at this point.
Agreed. Again, remember, you can see and meet Russell at Phenomicon in Vernal, Utah. You can look up the information at darknessevents.com. You get a chance to meet with him and some of his castmates that will be on hand. I believe that there's also going to be a Bigfoot hunt or investigation that's taking place during this weekend event as well. So you can find more information by going to the website. Russell, first of all, thank you so much for serving our country, being part of. Things are going off on their own here, Russell. What's going on? The Bigfoot is Bigfoot's psychically trying to shut us down.
Unexplained.
I do want to thank you for serving. Is it? Yeah,
It's
that's
the
a hell of
coin.
a coin.
It is. Thank you.
I want to thank you for serving our country. Seriously, thank you for doing that, and thank you for continuing to entertain us and showing your passion and desire to learn about this being and take us along on that journey. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Dave. And I will see you in a few weeks at the Phenomicon.
I look forward to it. And thank you all for joining us here tonight. Remember, do me a favor, rate and review this program. And if you're watching it on YouTube, make sure that you hit the like button, subscribe, hit that little bell so you never miss one more minute of the best in paranormal talk radio. We'll be back on Wednesday with the news crew. We've got stories from around the world to share, including a brand new Nessie hunt that's going to be underway. They are claiming will be the biggest hunt for Nessie yet. So we've got that information and so much more. We hope you'll tune in Wednesday live for that program to spend a little bit more time with us. And thank you for taking us along on your journey. And may the darkness be just a little bit more light with the information that we share here on the Paranormal 60.